We now know where Chad Franke was for the year leading up to Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt's arrest. He's now addressed the situation in an interview with People magazine, and Kevin shares that he was in the same boat. Both of them basically were told to leave the family home and not have any contact with their family.
The rules, the boundaries of the separation were completely defined by my former wife Ruby and by Jodi. If I were to seek, even attempt to cross that boundary, that was an evidence that I was being selfish, that I was unsafe, and that likely my marriage would have ended. She insisted that we subject ourselves to pain and discomfort, and pain and discomfort would be what would change us, what would make us stronger.
The Franke's neighbors seem to have been very involved in the situation regarding Ruby Franke and her children for the year leading up to her arrest. They were trying everything to get help from the police, other family members, even Chad Franke. In the interview, Chad told a story about how one of the neighbors saw him biking to work one day. He was only 17 years old and living on his own, so they reached out to him and wanted to purchase him a car. But of course, Jodi Hildebrandt wouldn't allow it.
As I'm sure Chad can share his perspective as well, we were both really indoctrinated that we needed complete isolation in order to heal, and that if we were interacting with anybody that was contrary to the messaging that Jodi, the other men in Connections, and Ruby wanted us to accept and ingest, then we were being selfish.
I was also required to move out of the house and never contact my siblings, never go back home. I was a minor, I was 17, out living on my own, and Jodi, who's my therapist and I trusted and loved, at that point, she wanted me to live a very physical, straining and mental straining life while I was out there. That was her mindset when it came to repentance and changing, is put yourself through as much pain as possible. So that was a really hard year, physically and emotionally, not being able to have any family for that long and no contact at all.
I helped clean blood off the walls. This is a statement from Sherry Franke in the new docuseries that's being released on February 27th about her mother, convicted child abuser Ruby Franke. She said she remembers helping Chad after Ruby would physically beat him when he was in trouble. Sherry says she helped Chad clean blood off the walls after he was beat really bad. She said, I did always feel bad when he got in trouble. He'd get a bloody nose and I'd bring him toilet paper and didn't know what else to do. In the series, Chad says viewers never saw what was actually happening behind the scenes. He said there were times when she would blow up off camera. She would spank, whip, take the belt out and whip my butt, pull down my pants and whip me. Sherry Franke has also written a book titled The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom. And in this, she says that Ruby Franke's punishment evolved over the years. She's quoted as saying they turned into grand gestures and prolonged periods of deprivation. Chad and Kevin have been doing interviews to promote the new docuseries, and in an interview with People magazine, Kevin seemingly throws Ruby's Franke under the bus, saying that's maybe where Ruby's behavior stemmed from in the first place.
The criminal physical stuff happened after Jodi came into the picture, and the severe and the strict consequences and outcomes came after Jodi came into the picture. Ruby herself, though, was throughout our marriage, she took a very strict stance when it came to parenting. And I think she learned a lot of that from her own parents and her own family.
Chad Franke has a strong message for people who think he and his dad are still brainwashed. Chad had previously shared that he was excited for people to get to see Kevin's side of the story. In the new documentary, viewers were shocked when Kevin said he still loved Ruby, even after everything she did to their children. Kevin said he doesn't think he'll ever stop loving Ruby, but that doesn't mean he wants her back in his life. Chad said he thinks his mom should stay in prison at least until all of the kids are 18 years old, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have love for her. So is it wrong for Kevin and Chad to still love Ruby? It's easy to think, how could they still love her after everything she did? I can understand Chad's love for Ruby because that's his mom. Even though she did these horrible things, he still loves the mom that she used to be and not the person that she became. I don't know if Kevin is still partly brainwashed, but I do have a hard time understanding how he can say he still loves Ruby. So do you think it's quote unquote wrong for them to still love her? Or do you think it's just human nature? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Ruby Franke is on the cover of People magazine, inside the twisted case of the monster mom. For the first time, Kevin and Chad are breaking their silence and sat down for an interview with People. In the clip I'm going to share, they both talk about their relationship with Ruby now. Chad says he doesn't feel like anything is missing even without his mom there.
I definitely hate the things she did, and I feel like I'm also a very lighthearted person in a sense where I would never wish someone to have a bad life, or what I really hope is that from here she becomes a better person and that she works on that and she truly tries to change. I have no contact with her right now, and I don't plan to anytime soon, but then again, she's still blood. She's still my mom, and maybe down the road eventually I'll have like a conversation with her and maybe eventually have a relationship where we can just talk. But when it comes to her actually being a mom and then eventually a grandma, I don't think I'll ever have that kind of close relationship again. It's hard, of course, but I mean, when I go home, I feel like no one's missing. I don't really feel like I wish mom was here. I don't really have those feelings really at all. It doesn't feel wrong not having her in my home, and that's okay. So I feel like I'm in a good spot even though she's not here.
Kevin said that he still loves Ruby, but he requested the Department of Corrections ask her to stop writing him.
The last letter that I received from her from prison was maybe in March or April of last year, and then I requested the Department of Corrections to ask her to stop writing me. I didn't want to hear anymore. I didn't like what she was saying, and I'm not going to share that. That's between her and me, but it just didn't feel right, and it didn't feel good, and I'm very angry. I'm still very angry, and I need space and I need time. So I don't know, but I can't imagine being in prison is enjoyable or easy. So I really can't comment beyond that. Point is that she's where she's at, and she's going to be there for a long time, and I genuinely hope that she gets the help that she needs.
It's so heartbreaking for the kids because even though their mom did these horrible things, I wonder if there's a part of them that will still love her. I know it's easy for us to say lock her up and throw away the key, but that's because we don't care for her. It must be so confusing for those kids. Let me know what you think, and if you want to see more clips from Kevin and Chad's interview, don't forget to hit follow so you don't miss them.
Sorry, I am totally triggered because I've tried to teach Chad. I'm like, everyone's a good boy because you are divine. We make choices that aren't good, but that doesn't make you not good. Anyway, okay, so totally triggered. Let's go on to the next question, I mean. Okay, what was your biggest takeaway from Anasazi?
I'm a good boy.
Thank you. How did you break your toe?
Ooh. So, we were at camp, and we all had our shoes off because it was a nice camp. We didn't have to have our boots on. So all just had our shoes off, and my friend was like, Chad, and I turned around and he said, down, said, hut, and he had this bag of grits, and he just hucked it at me, and it hit my back and it exploded. But I didn't see where I was going, so I tripped over a log and I fell. I'm like, ow, I just stubbed my toe. And it was all fine, blah, blah, blah. And then it really started hurting, because stub toes usually hurt for like 5 to 10 seconds and then just go away. But this one like started to gain pain up the scale more and more, and something was wrong with it. And then it started turning black, and we couldn't do anything about it. We just let it heal on its own. So.
Only need the light when it's burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow.
Being sent back to camp. I definitely hate the things she did, and I feel like I'm also a very lighthearted person in a sense where I would never wish someone to have a bad life, or what I really hope is that from here she becomes a better person and that she works on that and she truly tries to change. I have no contact with her right now, and I don't plan to anytime soon, but then again, she's still blood. She's still my mom, and maybe down the road eventually I'll have like a conversation with her and maybe eventually have a relationship where we can just talk. But when it comes to her actually being a mom and then eventually a grandma, I don't think I'll ever have that kind of close relationship again. It's hard, of course, but I mean, when I go home, I feel like no one's missing. I don't really feel like I wish mom was here. I don't really have those feelings really at all. It doesn't feel wrong not having her in my home, and that's okay. So I feel like I'm in a good spot even though she's not here.
The last letter that I received from her from prison was maybe in March or April of last year, and then I requested the Department of Corrections to ask her to stop writing me. I didn't want to hear anymore. I didn't like what she was saying, and I'm not going to share that. That's between her and me. But it just didn't feel right, and it didn't feel good. And I'm very angry. I'm still very angry, and I need space and I need time.
Ruby Franke appeared in court yesterday over custody hearing for her 4 children, and what she said was shocking, to say the least. Ruby Franke attended the hearing through a video call as she is in jail right now. Her husband, Kevin, was also there sitting with his lawyer, and apparently their daughter, Sherry, may also have been in attendance. Ruby, unfortunately, threw both of her youngest children under the bus. She basically said that the 2 of them have been inappropriate with one another, and that apparently she's claiming that Russell, her youngest son, was also inappropriate with at least 20 other children. She says it was neighbors and cousins, although there have been absolutely no accusations from anyone other than Ruby. Now, of course, Jody Hildebrand's niece has also come forward, stating that Jody Hildebrand had also accused her niece of the same situations. Because Ruby made these accusations, however, the judge had to deem Russell unfit to be in a home with other children, which means they are now in custody of DCFS, the 4 youngest children. They are now not going to be able to be together. Russell will not be able to be with his other siblings or any other children in whatever home he's placed for temporary custody.